Good evening. I want to talk to you today about a topic that is super important to me. It's something that I think about almost all the time, and that is leadership. I've been a man who has studied leadership. I've read all kinds of books about leadership, tried to watch great leaders. I've watched a lot of bad leaders. I've seen coaches, teachers, administrators, business leaders, CEOs, CTOs. I've watched leaders in all kinds of settings and tried to pay attention to the things that they do, the things that they say, and get a sense of, at least for me personally, what are the things that I see that make the best leaders. And so I want to talk to you about those things tonight. And some of this is in preparation for a series of lessons I want to share with you from some leadership training that I do for teenagers called the Red Circle. But tonight is just an overview of what I think the three core principles that need to be your guide if you're going to be a great leader. Before I get into those, though, I want to share with you my observations of what are the things that make a person one of the best leaders. Someone that when you're in their presence and they're leading, and even when they're not leading, you just want to be a part of what they're doing. You want to hear what they have to say, and if they're going somewhere, you want to go with them. What I've found to be true is that the best leaders, those that lead with a deep sense of conviction and confidence, they lead from their hearts. They lead from the core of themselves, so it's natural. It's not something they have to force or fake or refer to the manual for. And there's three reasons I believe that they're able to do that. First of all, they know who they are. They know why they exist, and they lead out of that. And so because they've answered the questions that are deep in their heart, that all of us struggle with and wonder about, their leadership and the things they do, the things they say, naturally flow out of them. They don't let the opinions of outsiders affect them. People can say all kinds of things about them, and they're able to stay the course. Sometimes opinions of outsiders just encourage them even stronger to stay the course. Might even help them grow in some ways. The ideas of others, the ideas from others of what they should be doing do not distract them. That is such an important thing in regards to this idea of they lead from the core of themselves. There are so many things that we can do if we're leading. Honestly, it's a common thing even for me in coaching and in leading the Lighthouse ministry. It's a common thing for people to say to me, well-meaning, good-hearted people. Some of my friends will say, well, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. I think you should do this. And if I did everything or tried to do everything that everybody else thought I should do, I would literally get nothing done. And so that is an attribute of the best leaders. The ideas from others of what they should be doing do not distract them from their mission. They earn the trust of others because of their transparency and their discipline. If you're this kind of leader, as others spend time with you and see that you're real the same way all the time, whether you're at a business meeting, whether you're at a family dinner, or relaxing on your couch at home, or stuck in traffic, they see that you are real, you're authentic, the same way all the time, and they want that. And so those that are around you, they trust you because of that, as they see the discipline in your life. Because of these things they see in you, these attributes and qualities, they're willing to apply that same discipline to themselves. And finally, the best leaders prioritize relational influence over authority. They get others to come with them on challenging journeys because of relationship, not because they're told to do something. This produces mutual respect, admiration, and possibly even deep friendship that is not dependent on the position of authority. So those three things, the best leaders that I've experienced have those attributes about them. They lead from the core of themselves. They earn the trust of others because of their transparency and their discipline. And they prioritize relational influence over authority. The question is, how do you become a leader like that? Definitely, it's not the kind of thing where you can just decide today that you're going to be this tomorrow, and all of a sudden you are there. It's a process of growth, and but I have three principles that I'd like to share with you, and some scripture associated with them that I believe will enable you. If you apply these, they will enable you to become this kind of leader. The first thing is that you have to know, grow, and lead yourself. You cannot be dependent on someone else fanning the flame for you to keep growing, for you to keep leading yourself. In fact, Psalm 139 is an awesome passage from David, and it starts with, "O Lord, you have searched me, and you know me." In the middle it says, "You created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place." It ends with, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me and lead me in the way everlasting." And I would encourage you, as part of this first principle, to know, grow, and lead yourself, to read Psalm 139, study it, read it every day, memorize it. Applying the truths of this psalm will radically change your life. You have to be intentional about this. The truth is, the world is not going to make you a better person. You have to be intentional. If you do not do this on purpose, then you're just coasting. You're just going with the flow. You've got to purposely plan and pursue this idea of knowing, growing, and leading yourself. The truth is, I know lots of people, even people that go to church, that have been going to church for decades, and they have not changed a bit. That is such a sad thing. The truth is, if you see me, if you spend any time with me, and then 10 years goes by and you spend time with me again in 10 years, you should see something different about me. You should notice that I'm sweeter, that I'm softer, that I'm gentler, that I'm kinder, that I'm more patient, that I'm more loving, that I'm more joyful. You should see those changes in me. Allow truth, the truth of Psalm 139, into your life. That is the key to growth. Now, the truth is that can be painful, but pain is always a part of getting something bad out. The way that psalm ends, where it says, "Search me and try me. See if there be any wicked way in me and lead me in the way everlasting." To try something, it means to bend it until it starts to break. Sometimes to break it so that you can repair the weak spot. And truth should do that to you. It should be painful, but it's the only way to get your heart clear of the wickedness that he talks about in that psalm. Finally, in regards to this knowing, growing, and leading yourself, this is crazy hard in today's society. There are so many distractions. You know, if you get distracted by your phone or social media on your computer or all the kinds of things we can be distracted by today, If you get distracted for 10 to 15 minutes 4 times a day, you've just lost an hour. And that is why you have to be intentional about this. You have to say to yourself, nope, right now I am going to read. Right now I am going to walk and pray. You have got to do that. So that's number one. If you want to become a leader like I described, you've got to know, grow, and lead yourself. Number two, you've got to make relational integrity a priority. Jesus told us this in Matthew chapter 7, verse 12, when he said, do to others what you would have them do to you. Many of us know that as the golden rule. And I can tell you from my own personal experience and from many others that I've talked to is that the number one thing people will remember about you is how you treated them. In fact, I'd encourage you to think back over your life and maybe even think back to try to remember people you haven't seen for a long time, maybe a teacher or somebody you used to work with if you're out of school. What do you remember about them? How nice they were, how mean they were, the kinds of things they said to you, the kinds of things they said about other people? Or do you remember the lessons they taught you, the clothes they wore, the great job they did at work? The number one thing you will remember about people is how you treated them, is how they treated you. If you do something to hurt a relationship, bend over backwards. Do whatever you can, whatever is necessary to repair it. The Bible tells us this. It says that as much as it depends on you, keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. Sometimes, unfortunately, you can do all the right things on your side, but the other person is not interested at that point in restoring a relationship or even talking about some damage that you might have done. And you've got to be willing to let them be ready to do that. So number two, make relational integrity meaning strength, a priority. And finally, set goals. And keep pressing on. Don't give up. Last passage I'm going to read to you tonight from Hebrews chapter 12. One of my favorites. And even as I say that, I always say that. The Bible is my favorite. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders us and the sin that so easily entangles us, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Wow. You know, one of the biggest reasons why people don't set goals is because it's hard. It's hard to achieve something when you set out to do it. It involves lots of trial and error. It involves usually lots of failure. And the number one thing I would say to you, and I know many of you have heard this, but we all need to be reminded of it, is that failing at something that you tried to do does not mean that you're a failure. I have goals that I set 10 years ago that I still have not achieved. Now, some of those I have grown radically on. I have changed, I've improved, but I'm just not there yet. And I'm okay with that. Having set the goal and continuing to strive towards it is helping me to continue to improve, to mature, and to refine either in a skill or something that I enjoy. So failing does not make you a failure. Maybe the goal was not reasonable. Maybe you just need to work some more. Maybe you didn't apply yourself well enough during the process of trying to achieve the goal. Or maybe the circumstances changed. So often we set a goal thinking that the path is going to be straight, and the path ends up taking lots of twists and turns. So maybe circumstances changed. Give yourself a break. Give yourself some credit, and get up and try again. Keep pressing on. The truth is, setting a goal or deciding beforehand what you want is the best path to making the right choice when the wrong choice is before you. You know, I am in the midst of training for a marathon, and the weather that we've had recently has definitely not been weather that's conducive to wanting to go outside and do long runs. But what I know is that marathon that's probably 3 months from now, I think it's 3 months from now, I am not going to train for that marathon 2 weeks before the race day. I need to be preparing for it now. And so I have decided that I want to run the marathon. And so when I'm looking at the weather and I open the door to see what clothes I should wear, and the wind is howling and it's raining like it was today, I tell myself, hey, you can't wait for a perfect day to train. You just got to get out there and do it. And so I would encourage you to set goals, decide what do you want. That is the best way to making the right choice. And finally, so those three things, I believe, if you apply those things, those principles, those things will enable you to become one of the best leaders. Know, grow, and lead yourself, from Psalm 139. Make relational integrity a priority, Matthew 7:12. And finally, set goals and keep pressing on. Don't give up, from Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Those are great things to do. Here's the thing. You can work for years on trying to do these things to become a better person, a better leader. But if you want the real stuff, if you want the best tasting fruit, then you have to wrap all of this in connecting with the fruit producer. The Bible says that God's Spirit produces fruit in us. And the book of Galatians tells us what that fruit is. In fact, I'm going to read that for you. Galatians 5, verse 22 and 23 says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control." Those qualities are the things that line up with what I described as a best leader. And so if you make pursuing Jesus, if you make pursuing His truth your first priority in the midst of knowing and growing and leading yourself and making relational integrity a priority and setting goals and persevering through them, then He will lead you in the right paths for these other things and develop you faster, deeper, and better than any man-made plan ever could. In fact, I'll close with a verse that Jesus gave about that exact principle. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33 says, "But seek first," I started to quote it, "but seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." Learn to lead from the heart. Thank you for listening.